Tonight, thanks for joining us. I'm Ron Jones, and tomorrow, U.S. lawmakers are expected to debate the Laken Riley Act and whether the bill should become law. Here's a live look right now at the U.S. Capitol, where the bill is now in the hands of the Senate. It cleared the House of Representatives last week. So this bill requires the Department of Homeland Security to detain undocumented immigrants arrested for burglary, theft, larceny, or shoplifting. It was named after 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley, who was killed on the University of Georgia campus in February of last year. 26-year-old Jose Ibarra is now serving life without the possibility of parole for her murder. Authorities confirmed that he entered the country illegally in 2022 and was cited for shoplifting just months before the attack. 11 Alive's Angelina Salcido live tonight in Atlanta, tracking the bill's movement. So, Angelina, we do know the bill has support from Republicans and is gaining some support from Democrats. However, there are still concerns from other Democrats and the community tonight. So what are those concerns?
Well, Ron, the main concerns are coming from Democrats that say the bill in its current form, without any amendments, could cause some harm to the immigrant community. That is why they're hoping to have some debate, discussion, and talk about amendments tomorrow after voting to move forward with the legislation today. Organizations here in Georgia that support the immigrant community also have concerns.
On the U.S. Senate floor,
Americans deserve for us to debate the issue seriously.
Talks about the Laken Riley Act continue.
This is not, I emphasize not, a comprehensive immigration bill.
We're going to ask our Republican colleagues to allow for debate and votes on amendments.
The bill, with majority Republican support, spurred from tragedy in Athens that rocked the nation.
It is an attempt to ensure that no other family will have to suffer the pain suffered by Laken Riley's.
The 22-year-old killed on the University of Georgia's campus by Jose Antonio Ibarra, an undocumented immigrant from Venezuela with prior run-ins with law enforcement in New York. He was arrested for shoplifting prior to the attack, but released on parole.
Individuals already here illegally who have been charged with various property crimes are not required to be detained.
The bill would change that.
There's a version of this legislation that could have potentially prevented a crime like we saw take place in Athens.
Kyle Gomez-Lineweber, the director of public policy and advocacy at Galileo.
It would, harm other people who have not committed crimes.
Gomez-Lineweber says its broadness would push immigrants into the shadows and perpetuate fear while failing to address the right issue.
This legislation doesn't really do anything to address the issue of violence against women.
While they don't support it, talks are still moving forward.
The motion is agreed to.
So, Angelina, when he says the bill is broad, what does he mean that the bill is broad, and what are his concerns?
Well, Ron, there are several points that he brought up here. One of the first ones that he brought up is the fact that there is no age range for this bill. That means that anyone, including minors, can be detained to be deported. He wants that to be looked at. He also mentioned about the fact that judges are not being included in this process, meaning that they cannot determine if this should be used on a case-by-case basis. He also mentioned about the fact that the people, even if they are not convicted for a crime, could be deported in this case, meaning people that have not committed crimes would be found guilty and essentially deported out of the country. He also wants it to be looked at further to make sure that everyone is just being treated equally in this process and immigrants aren't being harmed as well. Talks for the bill going to be continuing tomorrow. We're going to be taking a look at that and what it will look like at its finality once it is passed. We're live in Atlanta tonight. Angelina Salcido, 11 Alive News.
Angelina, thanks a lot. That's right. We're going to be on top of this story. By the way, last week, nearly every single senator voted to move the Laken Riley Act forward for a debate. So this includes both Georgia Senators Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. In the U.S. House, the bill passed with a vote of 264 to 159. So here's how Georgia's 14 representatives voted. The results are split among party lines here, except for Democratic Representative Lucy McBath, who joined the Republicans in support of the bill.